I used to work at a Walgreens several years ago. The one that I worked at was open 24 hours, and I was working overnights. The store was generally very quiet during these hours. Only some customers would come in here and there. Most of the time, the store would be empty. I would also work by myself, which didn't really bother me much. That is, until one night when I was by myself, and it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. The store had no customers in it until this man walked through the automatic doors in the corner. The entrance/exit was to my left, and I watched the man walk in rather quickly. Upon entering, he glanced my way, but then he quickly disappeared behind an aisle. The guy had blonde hair and was wearing a blue shirt, I remember. So moments later, I noticed the guy walking between a few other aisles. He was looking at me while doing so, and then he went out of sight again. He emerged another time about a minute later and looked at me yet again. He was still moving pretty quickly, and the look on his face appeared to be somewhat nervous. The fact that he kept looking at me made me a little bit concerned though. I thought that possibly he was going to try to steal something maybe. Still, I really had no idea. I just knew that his behavior seemed a little strange. I saw him one more time, further towards the back of the store, and once more he was looking at me. Then he went out of my sight for a really long time. Now, during this time, I didn't really have anything to do, so I was really curious and wondering what this guy was doing. Soon though, I didn't see or hear him at all for at least 30 minutes. I almost forgot about him, but then I realized how strange it was. I really didn't know where he had gone. I couldn't see the entire store from where I was, but I could see a lot of it, and I definitely would have noticed if the man had left. After a few more minutes of nothing, I just got too curious. I decided to walk around the store and see where this guy was. I left my place behind the counter and started going down a few aisles. When I did though, I did not see the guy. Soon, I had made my way all the way to the complete back of the store. I still didn't see anybody, but as I was back there, I heard something. It was the sound of somebody walking, more towards the front of the store. I looked over but couldn't really see, so I walked closer, and then I saw the man again. He was now behind the counter where I was supposed to be. When I kept walking closer, I noticed that the man was now trying to open the cash register. It was locked though, because I hadn't had to use it for my entire shift yet, and I had forgot to unlock it. I got lucky there. Still, he kept trying, and when he saw me, he stopped and looked up. I asked him what he was doing, and then he stopped. He did not leave though. Instead, he jumped right over the counter and was heading towards me. I was probably a good 50 feet away from him. I turned and sprinted to the other end of the store. Back there, the only place I thought to go was the back room. I was able to make it into the back room, and then I locked the door behind me. The man arrived and tried opening it, but then quickly seemed to walk away. I figured that he was going to return and try opening the cash register again. I got out my phone and quickly dialed 911. Then I reported what was happening to the police. In the meantime, I obviously waited in the back room and did not come out. When the police got there, and I finally did emerge, the man was gone. He did steal a few things, but did not get in the cash register. We thankfully had security cameras rolling, and I turned those over to the police. They were actually able to locate the man not too long after. I don't know what the guy would have done if he had caught up with me, but I'm really glad that he didn't. This is something that happened back when I was a kid. I think I was 8 years old at the time. I remember that one afternoon, my mom went to CVS to do some grocery shopping. I went with her like I often did when she went shopping. So we got to CVS sometime that afternoon, and it was pretty busy from what I remember. After going inside, we walked around and my mom started getting things. The store isn't very big though, so at one point, I left to look at the candy. That was about the most interesting aisle to me inside of a CVS as an 8-year-old kid. So I was just standing around looking at what I would buy if I had any money. That's when this random lady came up to me. I just remember that she started talking to me. She was asking me what candy I liked and stuff. I didn't really know why she was talking to me. I guess I just thought that she was being nice or something. She asked me where my mom was and stuff like that. This woman appeared to be maybe in her 30s, I'm not really sure. It was so long ago and I was so young. So anyways, she talked to me for probably 2 or 3 minutes. But then my mom came back into the aisle and the woman walked away. I remember that I asked my mom to get one of the candies, but she said no. So then I walked with her to finish up shopping. We were there at the store shopping for maybe 5 more minutes. I remember in another aisle noticing the woman who talked to me. She was walking a ways away and looking at me as well. Then later on, when we were checking out, I saw the lady looking at me again. But things got even crazier. So after we left the CVS, we got back to the car, which was parked to the side of the building. I got inside and then my mom was putting the groceries in the back. When I was sitting in the car, I was just looking around. I noticed the woman leave the CVS and look directly at the direction of our car. The woman continued to watch us the entire time that she walked to her vehicle. She ended up getting inside of a car parked a good distance away though. I was thinking that it was kind of weird, but I didn't really think too much about it, being a kid. When we left though, I observed this woman leave as well, and she started driving behind us. I remember noticing that. So we drove all the way home, which took maybe 10 minutes. The entire way back, this lady was driving directly behind us. I don't know why I didn't tell my mom about it, but I didn't. Maybe I just thought that there was no way this woman was actually following us. I'm not really sure. But when we got back to our neighborhood, the woman was still behind us. Then we pulled onto our street. I was looking behind every so often, and the woman was still there. Soon though, we pulled into our driveway. When we did, the woman in her car kept driving past. Then we went inside. After that, I never saw that lady again. I still wonder about it though. Why did she follow us home, never to be seen again? I mean, I'm glad that she didn't come back, but it just seems really strange. For a little bit of background, I'm a female, and this happened a few years ago when I was 18. I was going on vacation with my family, and we were going abroad, so I needed to get a passport, which I did not have yet. I went to my local Walgreens to get my passport picture taken. So I walked into the store, went to the photo place in one of the back corners, and told the guy working what I needed. He came out and took my picture, and then a few minutes later, he had it printed off, gave it to me, and I paid and then left. The whole thing took under 10 minutes, and then I was out of the store. When I saw the photos, I was honestly really happy with it. I was nervous of how it would turn out, but it was one of my better pictures in my opinion. Now, a few weeks later, I had my passport, and not too long after that, I went on the trip with my family. When I returned home, not long after, I got a message from one of my friends. It was a link to an Instagram account. The page was using my name, and the profile picture was the same photo as my passport. When I saw the page, I noticed that it was a private account, so I couldn't see anything that it had posted. But I did notice that the account had made 10 posts. I also noticed that the account was following over 1,000 people, and it had over 1,000 followers as well. This creeped me out a little bit. Somebody was seemingly stealing my identity. I asked my friend more information about it. He just said that the account requested to follow him and sent him a message. The account had just said hi to him and he didn't respond. He also did not follow it and did not accept the follow request because he was suspicious that it wasn't me. I sent a message to the account after that. However, I did not get a response. I was wondering how this could happen because I never posted my passport photo online. As far as I knew, I was the only person that had it. But I then realized that the only other person who could have it was the guy who worked at Walgreens. I decided to go there and question him. So I went back to the Walgreens store and then headed to the photo department. When I got there, there was a different person working. It was a woman, and I asked her about the guy and when he was working next. After describing the man to her, she told me that he had been fired from the Walgreens. She also said that she thought he was a really sketchy dude. Then I left the store. After that, I reported the account, and some of my friends did as well. Eventually, the account was either taken down or deleted because it was gone. I still don't know for sure who was doing it or why. used to work at a CVS several years ago. I would work mostly night shifts, and it was a job that I liked. But something really weird happened at one point. I'm still not sure how to explain it. So I was working a night shift, and I was all by myself in the store. Our store was open for 24 hours, and sometimes there would be a decent amount of people coming in overnight. However, on this night in particular, it was very quiet. A few customers occasionally came into the store until a while after midnight. That's when things became very quiet. At one point, there were no customers in the store for a while. Then, I remembered that I heard the doors open and I looked over. 2 men were walking in. Right away, these men struck me as odd. They were wearing all dark clothing with hoods, and they looked down, almost as if they were hiding their faces. Obviously, this looked sort of suspicious, but after walking into the store, they went down one of the aisles and went towards the back, still within my sight. After getting back there, the 2 men just stood there. Then they didn't move. The men were just standing, facing one of the shelves with products on it, sort of close to it. I looked away for a while, but when I looked back, they were still there. I didn't know what was going on. Some more time went by, maybe like 5 minutes, and they were still there. Still, I just ignored it. But when the men appeared to be standing there in the same positions after about 10 more minutes, I decided to walk over. They were just barely in my sight, and now they seemingly hadn't moved at all for about 15 to 20 minutes. They did not appear to be looking at products, like they weren't doing anything at all. They were just standing there like statues. So I got up from where I was and started to walk over. As I approached, they still didn't move. I said hi to the men, and I still couldn't really see their faces. They did not say hi back to me. They didn't move at all. I got even closer, and I asked if they were all right. The men still didn't say anything, but both at once they suddenly moved away. They walked around the corner and out of my sight and into the next aisle. I was still really confused, but now at least they had moved. I figured that I would just leave them alone and they would be gone soon. Then I walked back over to the checkout counter where I had been before. The men were no longer in my sight. I looked up every so often, but I never saw the guys. About 30 minutes went by, and they were still someplace in the store, but out of my sight. I was still obviously very confused. Then, suddenly, out of nowhere, the men sprinted for the door and left. It was like they were both running as fast as they possibly could. It really took me by surprise, and just that fast, they were now gone. I was wondering what on earth they were doing and why they ran out like that. I thought possibly they were stealing, so I got up and I walked around the store. However, nothing appeared to be stolen. I was left wondering what on earth happened there, and I'm still as confused as ever. Maybe it was some kind of a crazy prank. I really don't know. I just know that's the strangest thing to ever happen when I worked there. I live sort of near Chicago, and over here there are Walgreens stores everywhere. One night, a few years ago, I went to one to get some snacks. It was probably like 10 at night or so. I drove to the nearest store that was open, which happened to be a Walgreens. After getting there, I went inside and was looking around. The store only had a couple of other people inside of it, and 2 of these people were these 2 women who appeared to be around my age. One of them was blonde, and the other had dark hair. As I was in the drink aisle, both of the women actually approached me. They said hi and then asked me if I would be able to give them a ride. I remember them saying something about trying to get an Uber, but it wouldn't work or something. I don't really recall exactly what they said, but they then said it wouldn't be far, maybe 5 minutes away. I ended up agreeing to give them a ride. I should not have done it, but I didn't have anything going on, and to be honest, I thought the women were pretty attractive. They also agreed to buy me the snacks that I was getting in the store. Had it been some random guy, I would have definitely said no. So they paid for my snacks and then we left. They got into the back seat of my car, and I asked them the address of where they were going. However, they told me that it was close and they would just direct me. I agreed and we started driving. I was told to go to the nearest highway, and I did. Then I was told to just keep going straight for a while. After being on the highway for at least 5 minutes, I realized that it wasn't as close of a drive as they had led me to believe. During the drive, the women seemed to be mostly on their phones. After a little more driving on the highway, I was finally told to take the next exit. Then I drove down this one road for a while that I had never been on before. It was mostly quiet, and we were a little bit farther out. Finally, I turned again onto a road that was even more quiet. I was not feeling suspicious or anything though. I just figured that they had exaggerated saying that it was closer than it was, but this was getting way out there. So finally, we turned onto this really quiet road that had some houses on it. There was also a lot of trees as well. I was told to pull into this one longer driveway, so I did. About halfway up the driveway, they said I could stop there. I looked and saw a pretty average looking house. The lights all appeared to be off, and it was surrounded by mostly woods. After stopping, both women got out of my car. When they were though, they asked if I could walk with them to the front door of the house. They said they were nervous to walk there at this time of night. I said okay, and I got out of the car. We all started to walk towards the house, and just a few steps in, I saw on the edge of the tree line a man standing there. When I saw him, I stopped. I was about to say something, but the women kept walking. They told me to come on, and I started to point to the guy and say that there was a man in the woods. But before I could finish saying that though, the man emerged from the woods and started running for me. Both of the women kept going towards the house. I ran back from my car and was thankfully able to make it there. I got inside, and the man reached my driver's door literally a second after I had locked it. Meanwhile, by that point, the women had gone inside of the house. The man then started banging on my window and trying to open my door. I started the car and hit reverse as quick as possible. Even when I was starting to back up, the guy kept hitting my car and trying to somehow get me to get out. I was able to get out of the driveway though, and then I drove away from there. Obviously, I then dialed 911. I had to stop and look on my map to tell them even where I was because I didn't know. The police came out there, and I was able to soon drive back home. That's the last time I give anybody a ride who I don't know.